The activities and projects you're working on now seem such a long ways from your early career work in engineering. But you've committed yourself to the Giving Pledge, which for those of who are out there, means you plan on investing half of your net worth during your lifetime. What are some areas you've chosen to focus on as part of your philanthropic giving?
Yeah, they're actually not that far removed, believe it or not. Because what I look for is systemic solutions at scale. Just like if you bring a software platform into a company, what you're doing is trying to solve a big problem all at once that it's solved forever.
Yeah.
As opposed to kind of treating every little symptom where it pops up, So I look at, for instance, Student Freedom Initiative. What we're saying is, look, one of the biggest challenges for African Americans is 60+% of our wealth goes to servicing student debt.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I think is it's atrocious.
Yeah.
So what the Student Freedom Initiative says is, look, let's create a pool of capital. We'll lever that pool of capital. We will lend it, and I always focus on STEM students, to our STEM students at the HBCUs who are in junior, senior year. So basically they've done their freshman and sophomore year, so they believe in themselves, right? Junior, senior year, they borrow the money, they pay it back less than the Parent Plus loans, and they don't pay it back to the government, they pay it back to this fund, which gets recycled. That's a systemic solution, okay? I'm focusing on a thing called the Six Cities Initiative, right? It's Memphis, Tennessee. It's Birmingham, Alabama. It is Houston. It's Atlanta. It's New Orleans, and it is Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm saying, listen, what we need to do is bring infrastructure, and we're going to make some big announcements here in the next few days. Where we're bringing capacity to all the HBCUs to get them to 4G, ultimately to 5G capacity, which also extends to their neighborhoods, which gives the ability for the businesses in their neighborhoods to now start accessing what is the on-ramp to opportunity, which is broadband access. Okay. And then from there, you can start to layer on top of that. Okay. How do we manage things like, the food deserts, and how do we manage the healthcare deserts, telemedicine? How do we manage the business deserts? Well, we need capital, right? So, and bringing in capital partners to the CDFIs and MDIs to bring in a modernization of that infrastructure. First of all, one of the things we do, okay, and then bringing tier one capital into that infrastructure, so then I can lend money to the small to medium African American businesses in those communities. So it's the same thing as far as I'm concerned. That's through the lens that I look through, right? It's bringing an engineered solution to what is a systemic problem, and then hopefully it creates a systemic solution. So we're not dealing with this a generation from now.
Yeah, but I like the fact that the impact of it is scale as opposed to incremental. I mean, that's really,
if you hit these 6 cities and we get them right, these 6 cities touch 13% of the African American population. If you do 100-mile radius around those 6 cities, guess what? It's 50% of the African American population. So these are businesses, it's school children, it's learning management systems for school kids. It's it's modernizing the banking infrastructure. It's modernizing the business infrastructures. Which being you implement software solution for a small to medium business, you'll get a 900% ROI on that solution. So every small business, from a restaurant to a barbershop to a real estate agent that's owned by African Americans, should be utilizing software to be more efficient in what they do. And so let's bring that technology and that infrastructure to that community.